An original story, narrated exclusively for Love Written in Silence. The iron gates of Hartwell Estate stand quiet under the weight of late afternoon light. Rain has passed. The gravel gleams wet. The air smells sharp with earth and stone. Countess Elinor Hartwell returns from the village on foot. Her cloak is damp at the hem. Her hands are bare despite the cold. She has spent the morning with tenants, listening, deciding, holding the line between mercy and survival. She does not indulge sentiment. The estate depends on her clarity. At the gates she sees him, a man in dark traveling clothes. He stands beside a horse. The horse bears no crest, but the saddle speaks of wealth, fine leather, silver fittings. The man does not approach. He waits, as though uncertain of his welcome. She knows his face before he speaks. Everyone does. Julian Ashford, Duke of Ravensmoor, a man whose counsel shapes magistrates, whose word sways parliaments, whose estate lies 200 miles to the north. She does not quicken her step. She does not soften her expression. When she reaches the gate, her hand rests on the cold iron. She looks at him and asks the question that will unravel everything. Why are you here? He answers as men of his rank often do, smoothly, without pause. I was passing by. Her gaze does not waver. Her voice remains level, almost gentle. Your estate is 200 miles away, Your Grace. The lie collapses between them like a house of cards. He does not try to rebuild it. His shoulders settle. His eyes meet hers without evasion. And in that moment she understands. This is not a social call. This is a reckoning. She studies him for a long moment. The lines at the corners of his eyes. The way his jaw tightens slightly. The stillness in his posture that speaks of control, held carefully in place. She has learned to read men, to see past their words to the intention beneath. What she sees in him is neither arrogance nor charm. It is something closer to resolve. You should have sent word, she says finally. I did not know if you would receive me, and yet you came. Yes, the simplicity of his answer surprises her. No elaborate justification, no appeal to rank or courtesy, just acknowledgement. She considers turning him away. She has that right. She owes him nothing. But curiosity stirs beneath her caution. Curiosity and something else. A sense that whatever brought him here matters, that it will not be easily dismissed. She opens the gate. The iron swings without sound. Well-oiled hinges. Everything at Hartwell is maintained. Nothing is allowed to fail. Walk with me, she says. He falls into step beside her. They move up the gravel path toward the manor. Their footsteps crunch in unison. Neither speaks. The silence is not uncomfortable. It is watchful, measuring. The house comes into view. Modest but solid. Gray stone, tall windows, smoke rising from 3 chimneys. This is a house that functions, that sustains, that does not waste. Inside the hall is warm. Fires burn in the grates. The air smells of beeswax and bread. A maid appears, takes Eleanor's cloak, glances at Julian with curiosity quickly hidden. Elinor dismisses her with a nod. She leads Julian to the drawing room. A small space, comfortable. Books line one wall. A desk sits near the window. Papers stacked neatly. Ink and quills arranged with precision. She does not offer tea. She sits in the chair by the fire. Gestures to the one opposite. He sits, removes his gloves, lays them on his knee. His hands are steady. She notices that. No nervous gestures. No fidgeting. He meets her gaze and holds it. I came to speak of your late husband, he says. Her expression does not change, but something tightens in her chest. She has not spoken of her husband in months, not in any depth. The grief has settled into something quieter, a dull weight she carries without thinking. Go on, we corresponded, years ago, regarding a legal matter, a dispute over tenant leases, inheritance law, a question of interpretation. She remembers. Her husband had been troubled by it, uncertain. He had written to the Duke for guidance. The Duke had responded. Her husband had acted on that advice. She had not been involved. Women were not consulted on such matters. Not then. Not in her husband's view. I remember, she says carefully. Julian leans forward slightly. His elbows rest on his knees. His hands clasped together. His voice is quiet, deliberate. The interpretation I provided allowed the estate to consolidate leases, to reclaim land from families who had worked it for generations. It was legal. It was also devastating. The words hang in the air. She feels the weight of them. the careful precision. He is not hiding, not softening. He is stating fact and waiting for her response. Families were displaced. He continues. Livelihoods ended. The estate gained revenue. The people lost their homes. She knows this. She inherited not just the estate, but the silence of those losses. She has spent 5 years trying to rebuild trust, to prove that Hartwell land will not devour its own people again. She has visited every family, listened to every grievance, made restitution where she could. But some wounds do not heal. Some trust once broken cannot be fully restored. My husband believed he was doing what was necessary, she says. Her voice is steady, but there is steel beneath it. You assured him it was lawful. I did. And now you come to tell me you were wrong. Yes, she rises, walks to the window. Outside the light is fading. The fields stretch away toward the woods. Bare trees against a gray sky. She can see the cottages in the distance. Small shapes, smoke rising. Lives continuing despite everything. Why now? She asks without turning. Because I could have said no. And I did not. She turns to face him. He has not moved. His gaze is on her, unwavering. That is not an apology, she says. No, it is an admission. And you think that matters. I think it is the only thing that does. She crosses her arms, studies him, trying to understand. Men of his rank do not admit error. They do not travel 200 miles to confess fault. They do not sit in modest drawing rooms and offer themselves up for judgment. Yet here he is, doing exactly that. What do you want from me? She asks. Nothing. Then why are you here? Because someone must be accountable. And it will not be your husband. He is dead. It cannot be the tenants. They have suffered enough. That leaves me. The simplicity of it strikes her. The clarity. She has spent years managing the consequences of decisions made by men who never looked back, who never questioned whether their choices were just. And now one of those men sits before her, offering not excuses, not justification, but responsibility. She returns to her chair, sits, folds her hands in her lap, and for the first time since he arrived, she allows herself to consider that he might be sincere. What do you propose? She asks. I want to review the cases, speak to the families, understand the full scope of the harm, and then I want to testify, to correct the legal record, to make restitution where possible. You will lose influence. The magistrates will not forgive you for reversing your own counsel. I know. Then why? He meets her eyes, and his voice when he speaks is quiet, but certain, because it is the truth. Over the following days, Julian does not stay at the manor. He takes a room at the inn in the village. A small gesture, but Elinor appreciates it. He does not presume intimacy, does not attempt charm. Each morning, he arrives at the estate, asks what needs to be done. She assigns him tasks as she would any steward, reviewing ledgers, speaking with tenants, visiting the cottages that were affected by the consolidation. At first, the tenants are wary. They know who he is. Word spreads quickly in small communities. The Duke of Ravensmoor is here, walking their lanes, asking questions. Some refuse to speak to him. Others agree, reluctantly. But Julian does not arrive with entourage or ceremony. He comes alone, on foot. He listens, records, does not defend himself. Elinor watches him. She expects performative guilt, the kind men of rank display to absolve themselves. She does not find it. What she sees is methodical, quiet, responsibility without theater. He is building a case, not against her late husband, but against the system that allowed the harm, and against himself. One afternoon they visit a cottage on the estate's eastern border. The family there, Thompsons, received notice years ago that their lease would not be renewed. They were granted a temporary extension by Elinor after her husband's death, but the legal standing remains unclear. The father is a man in his 50s, hands scarred by labor, face weathered by sun and wind. He offers them weak tea, sits stiffly in his own home. Julian asks him to recount what happened. The man does, haltingly. His wife stands in the corner, silent. Her eyes never leave Julian's face. When the man finishes, Julian asks if he still has the original notice. He does. Julian reads it carefully. His brow furrows. He looks up. This interpretation was mine. I am going to testify that it was wrong. The man stares. His wife's hand goes to her mouth. Elinor stares. Julian does not elaborate. He thanks the man for his time, leaves a sum of money on the table, not charity, compensation, and walks out into the cold. Outside, Elinor catches his arm. Her grip is firm. You will lose influence. The magistrates will not forgive you for reversing your own counsel. I know. Then why? Because it is the truth. She releases his arm. They stand in the lane. The wind is sharp. Clouds gather overhead. She feels something shift inside her. Not trust, not yet, but respect. Grudging, unwilling, but real. You could have sent a letter, she says. Corrected the record quietly. Without risk to yourself. I could have. But that would not have been enough. Why not? Because the families deserve to see the man who harmed them acknowledge it. Face to face. Without evasion. She studies his profile. The set of his jaw. The way he stands against the wind, without flinching. She has known many men. Her father. Her husband. The magistrates and landowners who govern the county. Most are skilled at deflection. At maintaining the fiction of infallibility. Julian is different. He is choosing vulnerability. Deliberately. At great cost. You are either very brave or very foolish, she says. Perhaps both. A faint smile touches her lips. Brief, but genuine. He sees it. And something in his expression softens. They walk back to the manor in silence. The light is fading. The fields are gray. The air smells of rain. When they reach the gates, she stops. Turns to him. You may stay at the manor, she says. There is no need for the inn. He shakes his head, gently but firmly. When I stay under your roof, it will be because I am asked. Not assumed, she nods, understanding. He is drawing boundaries. Protecting her reputation as much as his own. It is a small thing, but it matters. Tomorrow, we visit the Hendersons, she says. They lost their cottage 3 years ago. They live in the village now. In a single room above the baker's shop. I will be here at dawn. He bows slightly. Not the deep bow of court, but something simpler. A gesture of respect between equals. Then he turns and walks down the lane toward the village. She watches until he is out of sight. Then she goes inside. The fire is warm. The house is quiet. But something has changed. She feels it. A shift in the air, in herself. She does not know yet what it means. But she knows it is real. Word spreads quickly in the countryside. The Duke of Ravensmoor is staying near Hartwell estate. He is seen walking the lanes with the Countess. He is asking questions, visiting tenants, reviewing old disputes. The speculation is immediate. He is courting her. He seeks to merge estates. He intends to take control. Elinor hears the whispers in the village. She sees the glances at church. She knows what they mean. A widow's authority is fragile. It rests on reputation, on the perception that she is neither weak nor improper. If she is seen as dependent on a man, especially a man of greater rank, her ability to govern will erode. The tenants will look to him. The magistrates will defer to him. She will become invisible. A figurehead, a name on paper. She says nothing, but her shoulders tighten. Her voice grows cooler. She begins to refuse Julian's offers to accompany her on estate business. He does not ask why. He simply steps back, continues his work alone. But the whispers do not stop. They grow louder, more pointed. The breaking point comes at a gathering in the home of a local squire. A small, respectable assembly of landowners and their wives. Elinor attends because absence would be noted. Julian is there as well, invited by the host. During the evening, a magistrate's wife approaches Elinor, a woman known for her sharp tongue and sharper ambitions. She smiles. The smile does not reach her eyes. How fortunate you are, Lady Hartwell, to have such distinguished guidance. I am sure His Grace's counsel has been invaluable. The room quiets, not completely, but enough. Enough that others are listening. Elinor holds the woman's gaze. She is about to respond when Julian's voice cuts smoothly into the silence. Lady Hartwell's decisions are not mine to influence. I am here in a professional capacity, reviewing legal matters related to my own prior counsel. Her governance of Hartwell estate is entirely her own. He does not raise his voice. He does not look at Elinor. He simply states fact, in a tone that makes disagreement seem absurd. The magistrate's wife blinks. Her smile falters. She murmurs something polite and retreats. The conversation shifts. The moment passes. But Elinor does not forget. Later, as guests depart, she finds him near the door, pulling on his gloves. She steps close. Her voice is low. You did not have to do that. Yes, I did. They will say you are managing me. Let them. I know the truth. So do you. She studies his face, the lines at the corners of his eyes, the quiet resolve in his expression. He is not performing chivalry. He is drawing a line in the ground, publicly, at cost to his own reputation, because her authority matters more than his pride. And in that moment, something inside her, something guarded and careful, begins to soften. She reaches out, touches his arm briefly, a gesture so small it might be missed, but he feels it. She sees the flicker of recognition in his eyes. Thank you, she says quietly. He nods, says nothing, but his hand covers hers for a moment, warm, steady. Then he is gone into the night, and she stands in the doorway, watching the darkness, feeling something she has not felt in years. Hope. 3 weeks after his arrival, Julian prepares to testify before the county magistrate. The case involves the Thompsons and 2 other families whose leases were terminated under the legal interpretation he provided years ago. If the magistrate accepts Julian's revised testimony, the families will be granted security of tenure. The estate will lose some revenue, but not catastrophically. The law, however, will be clarified, and Julian's reputation as a reliable legal mind will be damaged, perhaps irreparably. Elinor tries to dissuade him, not because she opposes the outcome, but because she understands the cost. A duke's power rests not on land alone, but on the perception of infallibility. If Julian admits error, other rulings he has influenced will be questioned. Allies will distance themselves. Rivals will seize the opening. You will lose more than influence, she tells him the night before the hearing. They are in the estate's small library. Ledgers spread between them. Firelight flickers on the walls. You will lose the ability to do good elsewhere, perhaps, he says. But if I do not correct this, I lose the right to call myself just. Justice without power is only sentiment. He looks at her then, fully, and his expression is neither resigned nor defiant. It is clear, and power without justice is only force. She has no answer for that. She looks down at the ledger before her, the columns of numbers, the careful notations, all the work of keeping an estate alive, of balancing survival and mercy. She has done this alone for 5 years. She has made hard choices, choices that hurt, but she has never pretended they were anything other than what they were. Necessary, painful, human. What if they do not rule in your favor? She asks. Then I will have tried and failed, but I will not have stayed silent. That is not enough. It is all I have. She closes the ledger, looks at him across the table. The firelight casts shadows on his face, makes him look older, wearier, but no less certain. I will attend, she says. You do not have to. I know, but I will. He nods, and for a moment neither speaks. The fire crackles. Outside the wind rises. The house settles around them. Familiar sounds, comforting. She realizes she has grown used to his presence, the way he listens, the way he does not fill silence with empty words. She has grown used to trusting him, and that frightens her more than she expected. Why did you really come here? She asks suddenly. He looks at her, surprised by the question, or perhaps by the timing. I told you. You told me part of it, but not all. He is silent for a long moment. Then he sets down his pen, leans back in his chair. His gaze is steady, because I have spent 20 years giving counsel, shaping law, influencing decisions, and I never once asked what happened after. I never visited the families, never saw the empty cottages, never counted the cost. I was careful, precise, legal, and utterly blind. And now I see, and I cannot unsee. She understands. She has felt that herself. The moment when willful ignorance becomes impossible, when you must choose between comfort and truth. It is not a grand moment, not dramatic, just a quiet reckoning in the dark. You could have chosen differently, she says. So could you? I had no choice. I inherited this. You had a choice in how you carried it. She blinks, surprised. He is right. She could have continued as her husband did, could have prioritized revenue over people, could have let the silence stand. But she did not. She chose differently. And that choice has defined her, shaped her, made her who she is. We are both fools then, she says softly. Perhaps, but we are honest fools. A faint smile touches her lips. He smiles back, and the moment stretches between them. Fragile, precious, full of unspoken things. The hearing takes place in the county hall, a stone building with high windows and hard benches. Elinor attends, seated in the public gallery. She wears a dark dress, simple, unadorned. She does not want to draw attention, but her presence is noted. Whispers ripple through the room. The Countess is here, watching, listening. Julian stands before the panel of magistrates. 3 men, all older, all known to him. Men who have relied on his counsel, who respect his name. He wears no wig, no ceremonial robes, just a plain coat, dark and well-made. He looks like what he is, a man of rank, but also a man standing in judgment of himself. The lead magistrate calls the session to order. The families are present. The Thompsons, the Hendersons, a third family, the Clarks, whose son was forced to leave for the city and died there. They sit together, faces solemn, hands folded, waiting. Julian speaks without notes. His voice is calm, clear. He explains the original interpretation, the legal reasoning, the precedent he cited. He does not rush, does not simplify. He treats the magistrates as equals, as men capable of understanding complexity. Then he explains why the interpretation was flawed, why it prioritized revenue over equity, why it allowed harm that could have been prevented. He does not blame Lord Hartwell. He does not cite extenuating circumstances. He states plainly that the interpretation was his, that he advised it, that he was wrong. The room is utterly silent. Elinor watches the magistrates. Their faces are unreadable, but she sees the tension in their postures, the way they lean forward, the way they glance at each other. This is unprecedented. A duke admitting error, publicly, without evasion. One of the magistrates, an older man with silver hair, leans forward. Your Grace, you understand that this reversal calls into question several other cases. I do, and you accept responsibility for the outcomes of those cases as well. Julian's jaw tightens, but his voice does not waver. I do. The magistrates confer quietly, their heads bent together. Elinor cannot hear what they say, but she sees the gravity in their expressions. This is not a simple matter. This will have consequences for Julian, for the families, for the law itself. Finally, the lead magistrate straightens, looks at Julian, then at the families. We find that the original interpretation was overly narrow, that it failed to account for customary rights and long-standing tenancy. The families will retain their leases. The interpretation is formally revised. This hearing is adjourned. The room exhales. The families weep, quietly, hands clasped. The Thompsons embrace. Mrs. Henderson covers her face. Her shoulders shake. Julian does not celebrate. He gathers his papers, nods to the panel, and leaves through the side door. Elinor follows. Outside, the afternoon light is thin and cold. Julian stands by his horse, his back to her. She approaches slowly. Her footsteps crunch on gravel. He does not turn. You knew they would rule in your favor, she says. I hope they would rule justly, he corrects. It is not the same thing. No, it is not. She stops beside him. For a long moment, neither speaks. The wind is cold. The sky is gray. But something feels lighter, as though a weight has been lifted. Not entirely, but enough. Thank you, she says quietly. He turns to look at her, and for the first time since his arrival, he smiles. Small, tired, real. You are welcome, Elinor. It is the first time he has used her given name. She feels the intimacy of it, the trust, and she does not pull away. Julian prepares to leave. His work is done. The families are secure. The legal record is corrected. There is no reason for him to remain. He tells Elinor this over dinner at the manor. A simple meal. No ceremony. She listens, nods, does not ask him to stay. But that night alone in her study, she finds his gloves on the desk. He left them by accident. Or perhaps not. She holds them in her hands, feeling the fine leather, still warm. And she realizes something she has been avoiding for weeks. She does not want him to go. Not because she needs him. Not because the estate requires his presence, but because she has come to value the steady quiet of his company, the way he listens without commanding, the way he stands beside her without standing over her. She has spent 5 years building walls, and he has not tried to breach them. He has simply waited at the gate until she opened it herself. The next morning, she rides to the inn. Julian is in the courtyard, preparing his horse. When he sees her, he stops. She dismounts, walks toward him, holds out the gloves. You left these. He takes them. His fingers brush hers. Neither pulls away immediately. Thank you, he says. Will you come back? She asks. Her voice is steady, but her heart is not. He searches her face, looking for something. Permission, perhaps, or certainty. Do you want me to? She could deflect, could offer a polite reason. Business, estate matters, formalities. But she does not. Yes, it is the simplest word she has ever spoken, and the most difficult. Julian's expression shifts, not relief, but something deeper. Recognition. He steps closer. She does not step back. His hand rises, hesitates, then cups her cheek. The touch is careful, questioning. She leans into it, just slightly. Permission. The kiss is not sudden. It is slow, deliberate, achingly gentle. It tastes of rain and resolve, and all the words neither has said. When they part, his forehead rests against hers. I will come back, he murmurs, as often as you allow. Then come often, she whispers. He smiles, and for the first time in years, so does she. Julian does not move to Hartwell Estate. He does not take control. He returns to his own lands, settles his affairs, begins the work of reviewing every case his counsel has touched. It will take years. He knows this. So does Elinor. But he writes. Every week letters arrive. Long, thoughtful, full of questions and observations. She writes back, matching his tone, his honesty. Their correspondence becomes a conversation neither wants to end. He visits once a month, sometimes more. He stays at the inn, though Elinor offers him rooms at the manor. He declines, gently. When I stay under your roof, he says, it will be because I am asked, not assumed. She appreciates this more than she can say. The estate flourishes. The tenants, seeing that Elinor's authority is supported, but not supplanted, grow more confident. Disputes are brought to her, not to him. Decisions are hers. Julian offers counsel only when asked, and even then he presents options rather than directives. The surrounding gentry adjust. Some whisper still, but the whispers lose their edge. It becomes clear that this is not a takeover. It is a partnership, one based not on dependence but on respect. One evening a year, after his first arrival, Julian stands with Elinor at the gates where they first spoke. The iron is cold under her hand. The light is fading, soft and golden. The fields stretch away toward the woods. Smoke rises from the cottages. Lives continuing, thriving. Do you regret it? She asks. What you gave up? He considers, his gaze on the horizon. I regret what I did not give up sooner. She turns to him. And now, he says, I am where I should be. She slips her hand into his. He holds it firmly, warmly. They stand together in the gathering dusk, neither leading, neither following, just standing, together. The gates remain open. The path stretches before them. And for the first time in years, Elinor feels not the weight of duty, but the lightness of choice. She has chosen this, chosen him, not because she needs him, but because she wants him, because he has proven himself worthy, not of her estate, but of her trust. Julian looks down at their joined hands, then at her face, the lines of care around her eyes, the strength in her jaw, the quiet beauty that comes not from youth, but from survival, from choosing again and again to do what is right, even when it is hard. I love you, he says quietly, simply, without flourish. She feels the words settle in her chest, warm, true. She has not heard them in years, and never like this, never from a man who has earned the right to speak them. I know, she says, and then softer, I love you too. It is not a declaration. It is a recognition of what has grown between them, slowly, carefully, built on honesty and respect and the quiet courage to be vulnerable. They walk back to the manor together, hand in hand. The light fades behind them. The stars begin to appear. The house glows warm in the distance. And Elinor knows that whatever comes next, they will face it together, not as lord and subject, not as savior and saved, but as equals, as partners, as two people who chose each other, and who will keep choosing, every day, for as long as they live. The gates stand open. The path is clear, and the future, uncertain as it is, feels less like a burden and more like a promise.